Welcome, I'm Rob. You joined me at TeamSport Sheffield for the second session of this visit. If you haven't seen the first session, do click the link up in the top now. I talk about my costs that I spent on go-karting all the way throughout 2022. We're in 2023, and this video I'm going to cover the costs that I've spent so far this year as well. But while we're in the kart, let's talk about the kart. First session went alright, had a bit of traffic, but we got through it all. We went fastest overall, very nice. Not a new personal best, but I was only a tenth of a second off. Not too bad, considering it was snowing outside. Sheffield was hit with some really quite bad weather. My house, we actually had 10 inches, 20 centimetres of snow piled up outside come Friday morning. This was Wednesday night, and it was snowing, but thankfully it wasn't settling. It did seem to disrupt the track quite a bit though. The karts really didn't like it. They were either understeering or they were oversteering into the same corner. You could drive it the same each lap and they would be very different. The engines loved the cold, and that's why you can keep it up and go so fast. So let's talk costs, shall we? I'm filming this video on the 15th of March 2023, this inlay part, not the go-karting. How much have I spent so far? So we're going to break down every visit I've had, just like I did in the last video. And remember, I'm going to discuss the cost difference between not having membership, me having my membership, and not having membership and using that Get10 code. Because if you remember, if you use Get10 when you book online and you're not a member, it gets you 10% off your booking price. So my first visit in 2023 was to TeamSport, but it wasn't to Sheffield. If you remember, we went over to Coventry. I was in the area, I decided to pop in. It was a Saturday. Now Saturdays do have a higher cost, but at Coventry, just like they were with Stoke, actually very reasonable. A full price without membership, I should have booked at £39.95. That's for two 15-minute sessions, adult race experience. If I'd remembered that Get10 code, that would be £36, $35.96 I think makes it 10%. But with my membership, I ended up paying £29.14. All in all, a very nice visit, very good track. I'm actually going back next month. I'll be in the area again, so I will be popping in once more. The next trip out to go-karting was to Sheffield. It was another Saturday visit. I took my friend Stuart, and we had an interesting experience. First session, very, very busy. And then a group of 16 lads actually got kicked out of TeamSport for messing around in the bar. And if you remember, the one video that I released from this one was then actually me nearly lapping everyone. There was only 4 of us on track, and I nearly lapped everyone in that session. I enjoyed it a lot. It was well worth the £30 that I spent. Would have been £40 without the membership and without the Get10. Stuart only had to pay £36 because I booked for him and used Get10. So my third go-karting trip of the year happened on the 30th of January. I did a Grid 3x2. That's my second ever Grid 3x2. If you remember, my last one was back in July, and I was so put off by the experience of driving around being the slowest person on the track for 3 sessions straight that I decided to just focus on myself and do the public sessions for the meantime. This one went very much differently, and I really enjoyed myself, and I set my new personal best in the process. A members only Grid 3x2 has gone up very slightly in price. All prices have gone up ever so slightly, but they're still very, very reasonable at just £28.31. I'm going to add that price to all 3 tallies because you can only book it as a member, as I did in the last video. The 11th of February saw me visit the first outdoor track for the channel, Wilton Mill. Now, technically, I booked this twice. I had actually booked to go to Wilton Mill on the morning of New Year's Eve. Now, the night before, I fell very ill and I couldn't go. Thankfully, someone else took my place and they paid me back the money that I'd spent, so I'm not counting that in my tallies. But I did have to pay this time in February. £60 for 2 20-minute sessions on a very fast outdoor track. Expensive, but worthwhile. It is a very, very fun track. The next visit hasn't actually been released as a video yet, so I'm going to come back to that one. It's another outdoor track that's coming next in this series of videos. So the 8th of March is this video that you're watching right now, where I had 3 sessions. I originally booked for 2 using my loyalty points. Now if you remember from the last video, you accrue loyalty points as a club or elite member. Once you've got 600 points, you get a free session. This was one of my free sessions. But as I arrived, I signed in on the pad, and then they went, "We're not very busy, do you want an extra session?" I looked outside and went, "I'll do the first session first, see what the weather's doing. If it's not settling, I'll stay on and do a second session, third session even." So, whilst it was a free visit for the first 2 sessions, I paid for an extra session, which was £8.50. Very good price overall, for me. If I wasn't a member, and I paid for full price for all 3 sessions, that would have been £37.75. So that's a huge saving for me. It would have been 34 with Get 10. So the video that you haven't seen yet, but I recorded before I recorded this, was in Parkwood Karting in Sheffield. A very small outdoor track, just over a 30-second lap, and it's coming after this series of videos. So we've got 1, 2 today, third one comes out next week, then you're into Parkwood Karting, which will be the 10th of April, the release date. That was a Grand Prix event, and it cost £35. That was for 2 qualifying rounds of 10 laps, and then a race of 20 laps. You'll see more when that video comes live. So that rounds me up for this year so far. We're into an early start. I have already got 2 Race Again vouchers on my account ready to go, so I have paid £17.50 for each of those sessions, ready accrued, ready to go when I need to go. I'm not going to include those in my costs though. So that makes my spend as a member so far at TeamSport only £95.95, and at non-TeamSport tracks £95. So that brings me a total so far this year of £190.95, and we're only in March. If we go back and look just at the TeamSport costs so far, that gave me my membership has given me a saving of £50.06. So I should have been paying £146.01 rather than the £95.95 that I did pay. Using Get 10, that would have come down to £134.27, so that's still a saving of £38.32. So in just 4 visits, I have saved the cost of my membership, or even an elite membership if I had gone for that option. So far throughout this YouTube channel, I have spent a grand total of £727.99 on all of my go-karting. It's a fair amount, but it's a commitment I'm going to make just to keep bringing you guys the content that you want to see. Obviously, I've only spoken so far about the go-karting sessions. I'm now going to talk about some of the equipment that I have. Obviously, all of the equipment I have purchased is optional. You don't need to go out and buy it just to do go-karting. I do it because I go regularly and I want my own stuff. TeamSport, any other track that you go to, will provide necessary equipment. Sometimes you have to pay a little extra to hire or to buy a permanent, say, you can buy a cotton balaclava from TeamSport, for example, £3.50. So obviously the first thing you need to do is protect your head. You need a helmet. I have my own helmet. I've had it for a very long time, I think around 11 years. I bought it originally when I started doing track days in my car, then I stored it for a few years properly, and then I've started using it again for go-karting. It is next on my list to replace. You are only supposed to use a helmet, depending on how you use it, for around 5 years, and then consider replacing it. I've been looking recently for a visor. Can't get a new visor, so definitely changing the helmet instead. My eBay history doesn't go back far enough, but I paid around about £80 for it at the time. It's a nitro helmet, but I don't even know the model. So between my first visit and the second visit, I decided to buy gloves and karting shoes. Now you don't need either of these specifically. You do need to wear some gloves, and gloves are usually provided. So my gloves and boots I bought together in March from Demon Tweaks. My gloves, OMP KS3s, cost £45, and my boots, which are also OMP KS3s, cost me I think £78. Obviously I paid delivery on top, but I'm not going to count that in this cost here. My suit is a recent addition, as you'll have noticed. It was a Christmas present from a few members of my family, but it was again £170. It's also an OMP KS3. The final, most recent addition is actually an OMP rib protector. I've always mentioned that I've had back issues, and I was always using a cheap £25 back support that I'd bought from Amazon, but I recently decided to update that and to purchase an OMP rib protector. Obviously it would have helped with my big crash, as it would have helped protect the ribs from bruising or breaking. Thankfully mine aren't bruised. It would help protect that as you've got solid side panels and then an extra back support as well. So that's a recent addition. It actually only arrived yesterday, but I'm yet to use that, and I will be using that the next time and every other time that I go. That was £152.79. The other big expense, and again this is not at all a go-karting expense, and definitely one that you guys don't have to commit to doing, I bought the GoPro. So when I started the channel I was using a really old action camera that again I'd had 10, 11 years perhaps. It's just a generic action cam that I bought from Amazon called a Git 2, if you want to look up how old it is. I think it's equivalent of like a GoPro Hero 4 or 3 or something like that. Once that started playing up, I decided to purchase a GoPro Hero 11. I purchased it shortly after they were released. I was looking to get a second-hand 9 or 10, but the prices were around about the same, and I managed to get a fairly decent price on the 11. I got a little discount over the normal price. Ended up paying £363.48. So that rounds up all of my costs that I've spent on kit. As I keep it reiterating, all of this kit you do not need to go and buy to go go-karting. So as I said right at the start of this video, I bought a third session on this trip, and because everybody had decided to purchase the additional session, we were not brought in at the end of the 15 minutes. We stayed out for half an hour straight, and so you'll have to join me next week. Yes, I'm doing this. You'll have to join me next week if you want to see the second half of this 30-minute session. I hope these different approach to these videos has been somewhat interesting to you. Next week I'm going to talk about my plans for the year as well, and then I'll go back to commentating on the video because there is a little bit more stuff that goes on. And then the week after that we'll have the Parkwood Grand Prix video out. As always, thanks for joining me. Please do give the video a thumbs up, leave some feedback down below, let me know how much you've spent, let me know any kit that you've got. Thank you to all of you who have subscribed to the channel. The numbers have been just rocketing up recently, and it's been fantastic to watch, and I'm really getting excited about the future of this channel. So thank you ever so much for those of you who have. If you haven't, you know what to do. Until next time, cheers.